I realized years ago that actually tech's the easy bit. There's like millions of boffins much smarter than me that will solve your tech problems for you if you can explain what they are and get a business case signed off to get them solved. That is the hard bit. And I think about when people ask about, is AI going to come and take my job? And I'm like, yeah, can you just write down everything you've ever done in your job? If you can do that, yeah, it's going to come and take your job. And most people can't do it. Try and shock all my new staff, try and shock them with this idea of do the least work possible. Every stage, and this is the boss saying, do the least work possible, every stage of every engagement, of every project, always.
Today's episode is brought to you by Omni. Most companies I speak to want AI analytics, but are failing to put projects into production. That's where Omni's different. It's the semantic brain that grounds AI in the heart of your business logic, giving you governed answers, whilst also the depth to identify root causes. It's intelligence everywhere, from your spreadsheets to their chat feature, even within your product. Omni moves you beyond the dashboard. Don't just take my word for it. Trust teams like Perplexity and Synthesia that are already using Omni to deliver intelligence that people trust. Check out them in the show notes or visit omni.co. That's omni.co. Now, back to the show.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Stacked Data podcast. I'm joined by Adam from Hypercubed. It's great to have you on, Adam.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, appreciate it. Great to finally get a chance to come on and talk.
Brilliant. Well, look, I suppose for those in the audience that don't know who you are, Adam, it'd be great just to, start off with a bit of an intro to your career background, how you got into data, and I suppose how you've ended up leading and founding Hypercubed.
Yeah, great. So once upon a time, I was a data scientist. I hopped about a few industries and ended up working for a very fast-growing consultancy called Incremental up in Glasgow. I took the leap there, the very painful leap from being kind of hands-on keyboard, individual contributor to manager, leader. I wasn't great at it to start, I must say, but I've got the scars, lessons learned, lots of books to read, and eventually left Incremental to join the energy sector. Worked at a fascinating startup that was doing asset optimization, forecasting, and management of big energy assets, and just totally fell in love with energy. And then spotted while I was there that a lot of the energy sector wasn't really using the most up-to-date tools and processes. It was a bit behind where fintech and startups and financial services were. So there was this opportunity to bring my kind of love of consulting and my love of the energy sector together, jump the gap and try and build those solutions on behalf of the customer. So Hypercube was born to do that. And so unlike a lot of consultancies, I took the decision to obsess about one vertical. So we only go after energy sector stuff with a remit that hopefully we build up domain expertise. Energy in particular, in my opinion, is quite tricky. There's the physical assets, the markets, it's super complicated. So day one of the project, there's 6, 7, 8 weeks of learning for most people, whereas we can get going on day one because we're continually building up that domain expertise as well. Started on my own, bootstrapped the consultancy, no investment, was on my own for about 12 months, working on projects, managing people, doing the sales, doing all the founder life stuff. And eventually convinced my co-founder to join me and started hiring people. And so we had our third birthday in September, and we're up to 35 people now, I think. We're trying to count the people on the upcoming Christmas party. And growing from strength to strength, so it's not just data science and AI anymore. We do kind of everything like software, cloud engineering, data platforms, governance, strategy, the whole works. It's good fun and ambitions to conquer the galaxy, right? Grow to 1 million, billion people and take over the world. But we'll start with the GB energy sector and go from there.
Amazing. I love the niche specialism. Follow the similar philosophy with Cognify. I think obviously focusing on the energy sector. I actually had the CIO, I think he was promoted up to CIO from the National Grid on the podcast a few seasons back, and he said one of the biggest challenges in the energy sector is hiring people with the context and the domain knowledge. It's really hard, and that the ramp up time is 6 months plus to really start getting value out of people who haven't worked. So I can understand, your rationale there. And obviously, I suppose it's booming now, the energy sector, with the latest sort of innovations in the chips space. The energy is becoming the blocker now more than chips in the AI world. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot more challenges coming your way, which is hopefully good for you guys. I suppose today we're actually going to be talking about AI projects, and I suppose how to actually launch an AI project that really delivers real value. There's a lot of hype in the space. You're obviously known as probably one of the most skeptical people in the sector, particularly on LinkedIn, which I really admire, given that you do focus in on helping people unlock AI. So, yeah, I suppose, where did that skepticism come from, Adam?
I'm just a miserable git. That's just naturally. I'm banned in my house and at work almost from saying, because I say it all the time, every silver lining has a cloud is like my motto. That's what's going on my tombstone, right? I don't know, I'm just wired that way to be very cynical, very skeptical. I think because I've been on the journey, I've been like hands-on physicist, I've coded microcontrollers, I've done research. I went on the journey of being a data scientist back in like 2014, learning from places like Coursera and things, and I saw Databricks come into light and all that. Like, I found on that journey that technologies come and go, and techies, I think, are quite bad at getting really overexcited about the tech and about the tools, and there's a very tools-first approach to almost everything we do. And I believe, I realised years ago that actually, like, the tech's the easy bit. There's like millions of boffins much smarter than me that will solve your tech problems for you if you can explain what they are and get a business case signed off to get them solved. And that is the hard bit. Like, we'll actually clearly explain what it is you need. And I think about when people ask about, is AI going to come and take my job? And I'm like, yeah, can you just write down everything you've ever done in your job? If you can do that, yeah, it's going to come and take your job. And most people can't do it. It's like, yeah, okay, first describe the whole universe. And people can't do it. And so you have to think about, like, there's hype and what's the marketing machinery that you're up against? Well, actually, yeah, some of the most well-funded, well-capitalized businesses in the world, with tens of thousands of the smartest people on the planet, are pouring all of that resource into convincing you to buy their kit, right, or spend money on their tokens or whatever. They're gonna pull some tricks and do some stuff that's gonna get you hyped and overhyped, right? But ultimately, if you go back to the very specifics of what you're up to, you need to really think about your universe, like what's in your universe. And I think techies, you see a new tool, it's really exciting, you see flashy demos, it's easy to get bowled over by the hype. I do. But translating Gemini 3 into what's the business outcome for my farm or my clinical practice or my car dealership or whatever, like, what? Okay, so you can nano banana, right? It draws images. Like, so what? Like, so what for me here? And I think that's a bit that techies are really poor at, and we don't think about. And a lot of the time when I do mentoring and training and stuff, like, most of the stuff I focus on is communication and that translation bit. Like, how do you translate from, wow, this is exciting and look at all the wizardry, to stuff that, like, people that aren't nerds care about?
I couldn't agree more. I think it's something that I post a lot about on LinkedIn. I think the people that I see excel in their careers are the ones that they're not necessarily the best at SQL or Python and coding. It's actually the ones that can take business problems and find real solutions, can understand what levers to pull to move value. And so yeah, I really resonated with that. Do you think that, you know, what's driving AI innovation at the moment? Is it actual genuine innovation, or is it more FOMO and hype? What's your lens on it from what you're seeing?
And I think you again have to think about the specific context of, like, where stuff's happening. So there's a few, I think there's like a few things going on. Young, risk hungry, like, super genius people in Silicon Valley are realizing there are applications of this technology that are going to completely change the nature of work, the nature of technical work, the nature of every industry. And they're like mid-20s, ex-Stanford, go. They get the funding. They are doing like amazing stuff. And you look at the people that like Gable AI, it's an incredible startup that actually unpicks like legacy code bases and data assets. And it's something that you couldn't have done like 4 years ago, but they're taking the technology that's come out, they're combining the static code analysis and unlocking enormous sums of value for big banks and big legacy industries that will struggle with their 40-year-old ERP system or whatever. So there's like really clever people in well-funded startups that have nothing to lose and are just doing incredible innovation. But as we all know about startup life, 95% of them will be here next year. They'll all be dead, right? Because product market fit and all that's quite hard. Then you've got like the kind of FOMO driven development stuff like Financial Times or like Y Combinator, like Gartner, Bloomberg, all this are talking about cherry picking examples from like massive industry giants where they've done a thing. And again, there's some marketing polish on this, like where did they get that info? Probably the marketing team within the business. Like no one's ever going to go, yeah, we spent 30 million quid on AI and it did nothing and it was a total waste. No one's going to publish that stuff, right? That's all whistleblower stuff. So it is happening. Some of the big giants are doing it, but what we see is this massive disconnect of hype train. I should talk about the third space is the actual tech giants that are building the models and stuff like that, the OpenAIs, the Googles, like Anthropic and so on and so forth. They are almost working on like the engine of the current innovation hype cycle, right? And they'll do what they do. I think they're the outliers. You can almost ignore them. So then in industry, we find that actually most organizations, most people that sit in the C-suite, most executives, most businesses aren't in the FTSE 100, by the way. Like people forget that as well. Like most businesses aren't like sort of 10 billion market cap. They're like a lot smaller. So people that sit at director and exec level see all this, get the FOMO, think, right, I need to do an AI. And so many companies like techies have eye-rolled at me and gone, yeah, we need to do an AI. How do we do it? And you think, right, well, there's not actually that many real examples of like industry-specific deployments that have been a huge success because no one wants to be the first one to get their fingers burned. And the other thing that happens is people that do start down the journey very quickly realise, well, wait a minute, like this document review engine that I'm building, is that just going to be a feature in ChatGPT in 6 months? And the thing I say to everyone is, yeah, probably, yeah, because that's what they're going after, all the broad use case like agnostic stuff, because that's the obvious roadmap for them. So people are right, well, I should just hold off. And I think in a lot of those spaces, actually, my advice is often, this will always happen. Like this is the train we're on. These things are gonna get more and more powerful, and OpenAI and others are gonna do a better and better job of hoovering up all the value and just putting stuff into a £20 a month subscription, right? But you as a business need to start to build the muscle memory of an AI culture, because otherwise you're going to wait 6 months and then you're going to wait another 3 and then you wait another 3 and then some other business is just going to take over what you're doing because they wasted 50k on a pilot and then 100k on the next thing, and that because they've realized that you can't just chat GPT your AI policy. You do need to write it for your business and write it against real pain points, real efficiencies and stuff that you found by trying it out. So you need to try out, right? And I think the muscle memory, the culture, like these tools will get more powerful and they're going to get closer to being able to replace the jobs of people, and that's going to become a scarier message. So you want to warm those people up to the journey and bring them on it with you and say, right, well, actually, no, look, this one really boring part of your workday is gone. It's all evaporated, and it's these guys in the corner that did it with this AI tool and so on and so forth. So, I mean, where is the innovation happening? Yeah, it's hard to find, I think, in reality. Typically, it's happening in blog posts and stuff, and we're seeing like snippets of it. But I think it's going to be like an S curve in that we're not going to see much, and then a few people are going to be that early adopter in their industry, and then all of a sudden we'll see a huge uptick in everyone figuring out the kind of ways of doing this and how to do it safely and reap the benefits, or chasing the leaders in their space. And that's not a bad thing. Like, sometimes second person in the market's actually the best place to be. You don't want to be kind of absolute first all the time.
Yeah, I think interesting. The thing that stood out to me there was like I suppose, obviously the risk of not doing nothing, of doing nothing, should I say, in this situation. There's, you're probably going to make some failures, but making them failures, you'll probably make some lessons, and which will then set you up to maybe not be on the back foot when things do start sort of realizing real value. So I suppose that brings us on nicely, Adam, to like, how do you actually spot value, and start thinking about AI? I suppose you're a leader or you're a data professional. What's your, I suppose, strategy to starting to think about actually spotting value, not just looking at the shiny tools?
Yeah, and I think it's really hard if you're not submerged in the space. So like, if you haven't got anyone in your business that lives and breathes data science, AI stuff, it's really, really difficult, because your interface to it is only really other people's blog posts and stuff. Like, you going down to that next level of detail, or being able to abstract like what that car dealership are doing with complaint management directly applies to my clinical practice, and I can tweak it and change things because the technology actually is the same, right? So that is hard to do if you don't live and breathe this stuff. When we engage, that's why, like, and obviously I'm going to say you should go and reach for consultants. Other consultancies do exist, but they're all rubbish. But consultants can add that value, and a lot of us, some of us, are quite like, we'll just talk to you and help, and you don't need to like collect a paycheck every time we have a convo, right? But consultants can do that because they see loads of stuff, they get like that, the dip the toe of lots of business stuff, and our job is to kind of try and be in front, right? But when we go into businesses, I always start from the needs of the business, like talking to the human. So we have this AI strategy accelerator offering that is mostly funded, and this isn't a sales pitch for it, but that is effectively, we'll come in, and it's usually me and like my heads of and my directors will come in, we interview quite a significant chunk of the business. Like, we try and interview 5-6 teams or departments and people at every level. We try to get a good view, and what we're trying to find is how quickly can we draw an accurate picture of how you do business. There's a sales book called the Challenger Customer, or the Challenger Sale series, and in it there's an exercise about, like, it's a really good exercise for just anyone in any business. You don't have to be a salesperson, where you say to like a department head, why do you exist? What's your department do? And you say, right, to generate money, you would say you're dealing with energy traders, generate positive trades and generate money through energy trading. Great. You say, okay, what are all the inputs to making that happen? And you go, da, da, da. And you go, okay, you go down to like 3 or 4 levels deep. You say, what are the inputs to that one? And it's like a whole day workshop, and you do it. If you ever do that in your business, you start to see all sorts of nut stuff. It's like, well, why don't these people talk to these people? Because they're doing the same jobs in different ways. But the whole point I'm getting at is you build up this picture of like, how do you drive value? What's the point? Why do you exist? Then I believe, like, in what's the lowest risk thing we can do that derives bankable value, that like once we do it, it will just generate some value, even if it's a small amount, forever, to try out. And lots of consultancies love like discovery phases and doing big analyses. I just like to build stuff. I just think, like, let's go in and build something small, even if it's a bit noddy, because at the end of the 4 weeks of us building it, we'll know a million times more than we did when we started. Someone said to me in a project, he was like, we know the least, it was at the start of the project, and he says, we know the least about this project now, and that is always true. And I was like, like, you always learn more about the context as you go. And so you're in there and you learn about like what, and notice I've not talked about a single tool here. You're looking for stuff. And then I think usually there's two ways to it. The kind of proper way to do it is you then try and identify in your picture of that business, I call it like the human craft, like the work that humans have to do to kind of stitch systems together, like the integration between the ERP system and the CRM system is Dan in finance, because he copies the data out of the ERP and he pastes it into the CRM, right? So did Dan go to uni for that? Like, is that what Dan wants to wake up and jump out of bed for every morning? Like, no, that's computer work, that's robot work. So let's build a robot that does it and try and find the highest leverageable stuff that the Dans of the world are doing. That's like how we always try and identify that human craft stuff. Sometimes in your picture of the world, you'll spot actually quite advanced things, like maybe there's an optimization engine or a forecast that's going to drastically change what happens. And it's that stuff's, the ROI is so high that you can make the case for saying, actually, you should take a bigger bet on this because the payoff is enormous. But that's quite rare. And for a company that's never done AI, it's terrifying. So start with the kind of automation stuff to build the trust, build the process stuff. The other way of doing it is just find out whatever annoys the CFO or the finance director and automate their stuff, because like you'll usually get stuff signed off easier later if you make friends with the finance team.
I think that's
right, but it does work.
I think that's excellent advice, and I'd be interested to see the data. Or if you asked how many data professionals spend their times interviewing and just speaking and understanding stakeholders and what they actually need, I reckon it'll be pretty low, which is quite a sad thing, I think, for the industry. So I think that's something that everyone could take away, not just about getting AI ready, but just about understanding more context about the business. And yeah, I love the idea of just building, POCing. Even if it's a bit scrappy. I suppose how do you test whether that sort of POC actually has sort of clear business value? If someone sort of built something, how would they balance just getting excited to build with actually validating, okay, this is something that we should develop even further?
Yeah, and so again, like you said, I'm known to be quite skeptical, and I'm quite skeptical of all techies and the way that a lot of us work. And I have some strong opinions on how to do stuff like that. So you, as a consultant, right, we're always trying to justify our existence and like why we're worth like paying for it, leaving your business to come to solutions. And I like to, in that discovery, drawing up a picture of the universe stuff. I've written a blog post years ago about how every data scientist, before AI and everyone was an AI engineer, every data scientist is a consultant, whether they like it or not, because you are trying to translate deeply complicated technical stuff and into like business terms and justify it and understand it, and then you need to understand the context and translate it back to the tech. So you end up always being a consultant, even if you're just internal. So when you're doing that, draw the picture of the universe, everywhere you possibly can, try and turn everything into pound coins, like or time. Too often data scientists fall into the trap of trying to report like precision and accuracy metrics and recall and like area under the curve, and like they are the right metrics to drive performance, but no one cares. Like turn it into the universal language of time and money, and people immediately get why it's valuable. What a 3% precision increase means to them, I have no idea, but £10,000 a year is £10,000 a year, right? And everyone, every function immediately can see how it chips into their budget. So do that at the design phase. Say how much this problem cost you, like ballpark it, like rough order of magnitude, and then sort of undersell the solution. Say, right, so we had a customer recently and he said, look, if we can unlock this thing, McKinsey have done the analysis for us, and it's a 1.6 to 8 million pound a year uptick in revenue for us. And I went, okay, well, POC, I'm going to guarantee you 10% at the bottom end. So can I build you for 160K, or can I build your solution that gets you 10% at the bottom estimate? And lo and behold, that was really easy to do. We massively overachieved. And so we got the sign off to do the bigger bit and do more, right? And that is, I think, a really easy way to play it, builds trust. The other thing to do around like the thing techies get bad at, because we love tech, I used to do it, everyone does it, is we try and build the best thing possible that we can in the time that we've got, or the budget we've got. And that's like comes from a good place. I actually think it's totally the wrong way to do everything. And try and like shock all my new staff, try and shock them with this idea of do the least work possible. Every stage, and this is the boss saying, do the least work possible. Every stage of every engagement, of every project, always set out the success criteria, set out the conditions, the scope, etc., and then do the least work humanly possible to just scrape over that pass and then stop, right? And by that, so say you want to build you're tasked with building a new, pricing model, and you're targeted to get a 5% increase in accuracy, right? You've given 4 weeks, and in week 2, you get to 6%. And actually, another week's worth of work, and you can get it to 15%. I genuinely strongly believe you should stop work and down tools and go to the person with the budget or the senior stakeholder and say to them, hit the success criteria, you can have all the time and the money back. But actually, I think here's a proposal for the following bit and the next thing. Here's how you get to 15%. 99% of the time, they'll go, well, yeah, go, great, brilliant, well done, you're amazing, do the next bit. But sometimes they'll go, amazing, I've got this other fire I didn't have budget to put out, can we spend that doing that? And it gives, no one is ever going to complain that you did what they asked for less than they asked, but they will complain if you don't prioritize stuff quickly and you don't get stuff the right way around and you overspend. And like, again, we love the tools, we're like nerds, right? We love playing with the kit. So we can end up like, you can always make a project
tinkering.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I used to call it fuck around OS, so that is a PG podcast. You can take it out, but that whole idea of like CB driven development, then it starts to creep in. It's like, oh, I'll do this with a deep learning model. And you're like, why? We're done. We passed the thing last week. Like, happens all the time.
Yeah, I love that piece on prioritization. It's becoming more and more important. If you want to be a really impactful, you can't spend your time tinkering as much as I think it's what every engineer and I suppose technical person loves doing. So yeah, I think that's a really good strategy, and I think you're making yourself more irreplaceable as well. If you're taking them, you're showing them that you can add value and be impactful, and either move on or take them to the next level. So I think that's great advice, Adam. Earlier we spoke about the readiness of companies and like the ones that maybe will stand still and keep on kicking the can down the road. So like, what does AI readiness mean to a company? What does that actually look like from I suppose more of like an data architecture, a governance perspective, to be ready to adopt agentic AI and to build tools and to be quickly? Do you think there needs to be a pivot, or is it something where they should just be putting sort of scrappy solutions together until they prove that value?
I just think it's so hard. Like, it's so hard at the minute because we're in a transitionary phase. Like, it's changing, the universe is changing, the external factors are changing. There's not many people that have 2 or 3 years experience in this stuff. There's not many case studies to go and look at or examples. Everyone is making it up, right? Everyone is making it up. We make it up, I'm making it up. But it's something you have to, but how quickly can you then learn and adapt? And it's like that true agile stuff, but it's like, how quickly can I take a safe bet, win or lose, learn, adjust and refine? I think that we're in this horrible place where like, yeah, as I've said, it's all changing all the time. Everything's hard. Then these massive like regulatory policies are coming out from like the EU AI Act's enormous and hard to digest. GB Code of Conduct, Ofgem recommendations, like every industry is going, right, this is how you should be doing AI. Here's a standard. There's an ISO standard. And you're like, well, they've off the ground in most places. Most places haven't even started, and there's these massive bodies of work that you have to go and consume and understand. Are they useful to you? Well, you don't know yet because you've not done it and you've not got someone that can come in. So I think like, if you want to get on the journey, I think any business is AI ready. And one of the things to do is in a business where like all the data is on napkins in a cupboard, right? Like, you can still do AI projects. You just have to swallow that. 95% of that AI projects is going to be digitizing your data and putting it into something clean, tidy. And for the professionals out there that have been frustrated for years with like company not doing stuff properly, I mean, this is just the current cherry on the cake. Right? So all your exec are going, we need an AI. And we all know for a fact that like these tools are amazing. They're pretty good. You get a half decent solution very quickly. So they don't know if actually the bulk of the cost of the project was baking the cake or icing it. Like they just care about the cherry on top piece. So think of it like that and say, okay, yeah, this is an AI project. You don't abandon the data warehouse, the data catalog, the metadata chat, because they're probably, that will raise a flag that you've been asking for this for years and you're trying to trick them. You are. You're just doing it in a slightly more duplicitous way, but try and like give them what they need as well as what they want, kind of stuff. I think, and how do you do that in environments where there's a low tech maturity? And I think sandboxing really small POCs, really small use cases, being super transparent and just trying to overwhelm them with trust. Like that, if they come to you, they give you a budget, they give you data, good things will happen, or they'll learn a hell of a lot and come on that journey with you.
Yeah, I suppose that relates back to your CFO piece as well, right? Basically giving people and showing them that value, and keeping maybe some of the other stuff behind the scenes, which they, you don't need to bother them with. So I think that's great. And what about, obviously, like AI is LLMs in general are growing. Agents are becoming a thing. What's your stance on how agents can be adopted, can be built? And I suppose there's many use cases, but there's more of the product and sort of customer facing agents. But I think there's plenty of use cases which I've already sort of seen and heard about for data professionals to use to elevate their workflows. Well, how do you see sort of companies and data professionals adopting and building out agents for productivity?
Yeah, I think again this is a space that's moving really, really fast. And I stole this off of, there was a video on YouTube, Y Combinator people. So this quote is totally stolen from there. I'll mess it up, but they talked about how like never before has the kind of raw engine of value been changing so rapidly. And by that I mean, I kind of, in the talks I give, I've kind of changed that. I'll tweet it into this story about, like, imagine you bought a car right next week and you paid £10,000 for it and you were totally delighted. You drove home and you were just chuffed a bit. It's a great car, it's comfortable, goes fast, it's smooth. And then the next week, like Mercedes come around and go, oh, we've replaced the engine, it's faster and cheaper. How would you feel? You'd be like, oh, amazing, great. And then the next week, Porsche come around and go, yeah, sorry, we've replaced the engine, it's faster and cheaper. Like, and for no additional cost, like it's actually going down in cost. That is what is happening in AI at the moment. The biggest, smartest groups of people, most well-capitalized AI companies in the world are having this Godzilla versus King Kong battle of the behemoths to be the one large language model to rule them all. Right? So unless you've got very deep pockets, don't play that game. But building solutions on top of that foundational chassis, right? They're going to be replacing your engine every week. And they are. It's so rapid. And this hasn't really happened before. So like you build a document review agent, and if you never touch it again, as long as you maintain it, I promise you over the next 2 years, it's just going to keep getting better. It will just keep getting better because Google are paying for it, and then Anthropic are paying for it, and OpenAI are paying for it, right? Till the bubble pops and it all explodes. But that's a macroeconomic forecasting that I won't get into. So I think, yeah, build agents. Then we see, like, in practice, I see a lot of companies trying to build like one super agent that does loads of stuff, and maybe they too closely think about like the role of a human in the team, and they say, right, I need a bid manager or I need a management accountant. So let's have an agent that does what are all the tasks, or the main tasks, and they write this agent that's generally useful in that space. And I think it can work, but we often see it just doesn't like give the best results. I deeply believe in that bid manager agent actually being like a swarm of maybe 1,000 agents, right? That there's the kind of like document themes agent. All it does is go through the bid and pull out themes. There's another one that does the style, one that does the company voice, and actually by building up like razor thin agents that do one pretty noddy job but really well, really tight, allows you to put really tight boundaries on it, really tight evaluations, really tight metrics, and then measure its performance. And then you just stack these agents, these thousands of agents together to generate the complex outcome. That tends to work a lot better. And thousands may be exaggeration, but getting into things like landing chain and processes and tooling that allow you to mix and match technologies quickly, leverage that changing engine cycle that's going on, so you're not too heavily wedded to like any vendor, no vendor lock-in, means that you can concentrate on, okay, when I review the management account pack, what is the first thing I am doing? What am I? And I just write it down. Like, could I teach my 5-year-old all the steps, that kind of stuff? Because your agent is not as smart as your 5-year-old. It just knows everything that's on the internet, right? And I find that is probably the best way to kind of employ that stuff. There's a hell of a lot of risks with agents though as well. Like, it's all exciting. You can do loads of stuff. We generate loads of value, and there's some great off-the-shelf tools that will accelerate your journey. But like, we have this product, Calm, compliance automation for large language models, that is built to help bigger enterprises or bigger organizations or customer-facing companies understand the risks around the large language models they're using. And we've all heard of like things like drift detection, prompt injection. So can I get your customer-facing chatbot to tell me how to build a bomb or a traceless poison? Actually, yes, is the answer, probably, because there's a bit of an arms race going on with all these companies trying to craft prompts and prompt injection attacks that break open the guardrails for these models. And you're never going to be 100% defended against them, especially there's a really active community. We use some of the open tests into our own. We've got a library of 100,000 prompts that have at some point broken open the guardrails of a public facing model. It's bonkers, and like, it's constantly updating. But you think, well, what about all the groups that aren't sharing their results and just have these things that no one's spotting? There's other risks. There's things like bias and drift detection. Like, is the model, you get the model version Tango if you look it up, and it's where the model provider changes the actual model without changing the version number. And you get changes in performance without anyone getting updated. There was a famous example about 9 months ago that Claude did it, I think, where they didn't change the model version number. They drastically reduced the capability of the model, and it banjaxed loads of people's workflows because it just couldn't quite do some of the stuff it was doing. How do you stop that? How do you protect against that? And like testing and put the guardrails in place. The one I like is like DeepSeek came out and everyone was like, oh, it's amazing, it's really powerful, it's really cheap. Whoa. Chinese government, wait a minute, they're naughty. And you think, fine, whatever. You're more worried about Trump. Like, what if Trump signs an executive order tonight saying OpenAI has to share all of its chat logs with the Department of War and actually inject a load of right-wing nationalist American propaganda into every response? Like, how do you stop that? Like, that is I know it's a stupid kind of dystopian sci-fi like scenario, but on a lesser scale.
No. The point stands, doesn't it? I that's big. There. I suppose the much bigger question is that I suppose you just have to do people just accept it and have to deal with it? Because you've already said we can't play that game unless you've got the extremely deep pockets.
And so the way around that is monitoring and testing and things like that, like building your own testing frameworks that before you release like any kind of solution out into the wild or a business critical workflow, run it in a sandbox, test things. Is it like being weird? Is it doing strange stuff? Has it changed behavior? And that is just back to good old fashioned engineering stuff. There's nothing actually AI about that. It's just like there's a few new interfaces, and it's a lot of my chat. And the reason I'm so like disparaging of data scientists for the last 10 years, having been one, was that I think that a lot of people in that space were reticent to learn engineering practices and good ops practices, when actually like that can be the difference between a good result and an excellent result that always works for the business. So again, what's the operations and the kind of engineering excellence that you can wrap these in that gives everyone the kind of security? Because the alternative at most big businesses is it's too scary, no. Cybersecurity and procurement and compliance just go, nah, I don't understand it. So no thanks.
Amazing. Well, I think you touched on a few things there, and especially what you were talking about before with the engine. I suppose it reminded me it's ultimately Moore's law, right? The technology is getting better and better, and if you can put yourself and plan ahead for that, I think you'll be in a better position. And I love the idea of, I suppose, lots of agents that are good at one specific task. That's ultimately what NVIDIA's GPUs do, right? They ultimately just focus in on doing one simple task really, really well. So I think there's a lot of parallels there, to pardon the pun. Moving on to the final bits that you mentioned, obviously about the testing. I suppose, how do you think about keeping humans in the loop with that? Is that something that's important to as people are evolving and putting agents and models in place?
So, like, just sweeping generalizations, I think it probably is possible to totally automate away humans in many use cases. I've never seen it done successfully. Like, I think anything that's meaningful is typically complicated enough that you always want a human in the loop stage. And philosophically, kind of, I think we always make sure there's at least some sort of human interaction in a feedback loop, and maybe over time you graduate stuff into fully autonomous, but most of the time you want human in the loop in there. Because again, like, I think, yes, okay, I can build you a fully autonomous system, first describe the universe. Can you just, everything that could possibly happen, codify it? And once you've done that, then I can fully automate this process because it will capture every eventuality. But that codify the universe is just incredibly difficult. We don't even know that we can't do it. Like, a lot of people, like, think about if you've ever hired a graduate or an intern, try to teach them any part of your process. You give them the docs, this is the training manual, and they go through it, and then like day 2, they're like, but what about when this happens? And you go, oh, yeah, sorry, scribble, right, there's a new thing, and oh, yeah, sorry. Like, those moments are the gaps through which the large language model is going to start making stuff up, like breaking things. Because it's not going to check, it's going to assume it's got the instructions, and it's just going to go through it.
Amazing. So I think it sounds like there's probably a way off, and that's a really key part of making sure that you've got your own guardrails and your own sorts of precautions in place.
I think people cleverer than me might disagree, right? But that's where we see the best success.
Excellent. Well, look, we're almost at time, Adam. It's been great chatting. I suppose the final bits I'd love to leave the audience with, I suppose, what would be your advice for leaders and professionals looking to scale beyond their first use case? And if they're not scaling beyond their first use case, I suppose, what's your advice to help them get started? I suppose a double compound there.
Yeah, okay. So I think if you've had a use case that's even not been successful, right? If you've had a use case that you've deployed, if it's been successful or not, I'm a big fan of, instead of like then going to the other side of the map and saying like, right, I've done a really good thing for finance, let's go into the HR team and do something. I'm a big fan of thinking what's like the closest next thing, and building up a bit of a snowball and letting it roll. Like, I think is typically does better because the development time and effort starts to they start to feed back on each other and improve each other, and you get wins that are bigger. I think technologically, that's the way I would approach it, recommend it. But you ultimately give the control back to the more senior people in the business that have everything you do. Every business should have a strategy. I believe in the taxonomy of strategies. Strategies, gosh, word sometimes, but the business should have a strategy. You should have a technology strategy, and then your data and AI strategy should feed the tech strategy. So they should all line up. So don't just do random stuff because it makes sense. Everything should line up with the strategic direction. And then ultimately give people in the business that don't understand the technology and are scared of it, give them the steering wheel to point you and prioritize what you're going to do. I recommend trying to steer the down route, or build a suite of tools that are all close to each other, because you get efficiency in economies of scale. If you're looking at trying to change, if actually you've got all the tech skills in the world and it's the human capital, the stakeholder management, the politics and the cat herding you're struggling, My favourite business book, I wrote a blog about, how it's the book I recommend everybody. It's called Better Value, Sooner, Safer, Happier by Jonathan Smart. And he is responsible for taking, I think it's Barclays Bank, and teaching them how to be agile as a company. It took a long time. But the book's about making organizations agile. You can almost throw that out because it's a golden case study in organizational change, and how do you move the mountain of culture in an industry or in an enterprise. And there's so many little approaches in the book. It's incredible. His writing online is really good. It's not a long book. Definitely give it a read. Have your hat imagine he's not talking about agile, he's talking about AI culture, and you'll see what I mean. And it's all the stuff find early adopters, make them a success, make them champions, lean into them, build a community of practice, then show off your homework. And it's all trust building and trying to build FOMO in the naysayers and all this stuff. But the way it's presented, it looks really, really good. And if you're totally stuck, ping me a message and let's have a chat and a coffee, and I'll tell you what I think. I'm not always right, but I've got strong opinions on almost everything. So.
Strong opinions do often make for the start of great ideas, though. So, Adam, it's been a real pleasure. I've learned a ton. I'm sure the audience are gonna really be able to take a lot of insights from what you've said and this episode. So, yeah, I really appreciate you coming and joining me today and taking the time.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. And wish you and everyone in the audience all the best in their AI journey.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone. We will see you next week.
Hi everyone, just a quick one from me. If you've enjoyed today's episode, I'd be so grateful if you could hit that follow button or leave us a rating. Even better, pass the show on to a friend who might also get some insight from it. It really helps us grow the community and continue to share amazing conversations. I also wanted to take a minute to talk to you about Cognify. For those of you that don't know, Cognify is the leading recruitment partner for modern data teams. We help some of the world's best organizations scale data and drive real value from the hires that they make. If you're thinking about building a team or making a hire and you're struggling with talent or just want some insights on the market, then I'd love to jump on a call with you and tell you a bit more. Equally, if you're looking for a job and want to find your next dream role, then reach out to myself or any of the Cognify team. We'd be happy to see if there's anything on our books that we can help you with and give you general advice on the industry. Finally, a big thank you to Omni, this season's sponsor. If you'd like to learn more about the AI analytics that Omni can deliver you, then check out the link in the show notes or come speak to me. I can happily point you in the right direction. Again, thanks for listening and look forward to seeing you in a few weeks' time.